What a deeply disturbing movie. Like, I don't know if I'd call it entertaining, but it's certainly effective and inspiring. I mean, this is my ode, my homage to Amy Madigan's look in the movie. You're not going to forget it. I certainly haven't. And I guess any movie that inspires me to dress up is pretty good. If you haven't seen the movie yet, stay out of the comments section. I don't want it spoiled for you. And probably stay off the internet too, because Weapons is already trending top 10. In fact, last I checked, it was trending top 5. I'm going to touch on a few spoilery things at the end of this video, things that we just have to talk about. I mean, that's one thing this movie definitely has going for it. When you get out, you're like, we got to talk about that. But I'm not going to tell you everything that happens in the movie, like a regular spoiler review, because I think you should go see it. Where would the fun in that be? Let's maintain the secrecy. So, the second half of this movie is like so batshit crazy that my audience, which had been very well behaved up until that point, I mean, this was a premium IMAX screening. People paid to be there. They couldn't take it anymore. They started yelling at the screen. You know, it started with one person, but it quickly spread to the rest of the audience because it was just madness what we were seeing on screen. There was one moment where we actually applauded. I applauded as well. I'm very curious what your theater experiences were like. And I wouldn't say that we were yelling at the screen. I didn't yell at the screen. It was hard not to, though. I wouldn't say it was because people disliked the film. I can't tell if they thought it was stupid or not. People leaving the theater seemed to really like it. People were like, that was nuts, man. But I think the bottom line is that it was eliciting an incredibly strong emotional reaction from all of us. It certainly got me emotionally. This movie filled me not just with dread, but with anger. I can't remember ever being so angry watching a movie. I was livid. And also, I was sad. This is an extremely sad movie. I mean, that's part of what made me so angry. I was like, why are you doing this to me? Why are you doing it to the characters on screen? Why are you making me sit through it? This is so sad. Like, the movie, it's a little scary. I had to like hide my eyes a couple of times. I was really scared. But it's not really a big scary film. I'd say, well, there are some great moments, but overall, I'd say it's a deeply sad film. The kind of sad that as you see it happening, you wish with every fiber of your being that you could undo it. You're like, man, that might be too sad. Like, really. So I'm sure some of you are like, let me get tickets right now. So as you can see, I said this is a half spoilery review, and I'll make it very clear when that section of the video starts. Because I think you should see Weapons in theaters. I think it's worth it. It's a visceral experience. It's a communal experience. I think you're not going to have the same experience. I hope your people are in your theater. You might be like, I went and I might as well be watching it at home by myself. But the way this thing is trending online, your theater might fill up. I'd give it a whirl. I'd go. I'd try it because I think this movie needs a crowd. I think that's part of the experience. Now, it's a little slow at first. It's real slow, in fact. At first, I was like, this movie might not be good. But it was. It's told in chapters, and I think that when we get to Paul's chapter, Alden Ehrenreich's character, that's when the movie really starts to pick up. So this, again, is the non-spoilery part of the review. So what can I talk about? Well, one thing I want to talk about is that before the movie got nuts, one thing that I was finding very interesting about it was that it sort of tried to explain the perspective of people, their point of view. The movies don't usually they're like, who cares? They're horrible, right? Like, I was surprised. Like, for a 2025 Hollywood movie, which is, Hollywood's very left-leaning, to have a principal point out to a well-intentioned but very aggressive teacher that there's a difference between a parent and a teacher when it comes to who's in charge of a child, that was very surprising. It was very subtle, but I was surprised to see it again in a modern Hollywood film. That principal really told that teacher to back off. Also, while Ehrenreich's police officer definitely crosses a line, like several times, there's no defending the guy, but maybe there is. I don't know. Like, with context, you were like, dude, you're going to have some kind of punishment, but I understand why you were so upset. And Austin Abrams's homeless drug addict and thief, also also surprisingly sympathetic. I found all of that very, very interesting. And I think that's part of the Cregger formula, which we'll talk about in a moment. The ad campaign for this movie has been almost exclusively focused on Julia Garner and Josh Brolin. Mistake! I don't know if either of them can sell a movie. But in fact, and on that note, they are the least interesting part of the film. I mean, I like Julia Garner a lot. I like her a lot, but her role just isn't as interesting as the other characters in the film. It's only once we get away from them that I felt that the movie really started to pick up. Maybe because also there were so many surprises and become more interesting. And the score by these two dudes, the Halliday brothers. Never heard of them before. Love them, on my radar. And apparently writer-director Cregger helped them with the score. They all did it together. But it's really good. Like, it does a lot of the heavy lifting, particularly earlier on. You're like, it's a little boring. Oh, yeah, that music's great. Oh, I like the way you panned and we have some action and movement. Oh, yeah, get that blood pumping. Okay, here's another slow part. There was a lot of that for a bit of the film. But it was very good. The score is very, very strong. These Halliday guys, we should keep an eye on them. Or an ear, I guess. So obviously, the big question is, does this movie have a good payoff for the big question, the big mystery that it poses? Or does it go full M. Night Shyamalan? Now, while M. Night Shyamalan might be a joke today or a punching bag, particularly for cinephiles, right? M. Night Shyamalan. He had a pretty good run there. I mean, everybody knows who he is, right? I mean, and he even had a little bit of a reprieve for a little movie called The Visit. That really brought him back until he messed it all up again. But this movie actually reminds me a little bit of The Visit. The Visit actually, I don't know. The Visit isn't as iconic as this movie. This movie is like instantly iconic. But I think the mystery in The Visit's a little bit better. So anyway, as I started to watch this film, I was like, I don't know if it can deliver on the mystery that it's promised. But by the end of the movie, I felt that it did. This is only Cregger's second outing in the horror genre as a writer-director, but I would say he is very quickly establishing a formula, just like M. Night did. If you've seen Barbarian, as I have, which was okay, it was all right, look at that audience score, there's a lot of similarities. The moral ambiguity, taking a look at people from, explaining trying to have a sympathetic or at least somewhat sympathetic POV to someone you normally wouldn't. Some other things that I don't want to give away. A lot of the same beats, a lot of the same ideas, very similar. The gross factor. I see you, Cregger. I see you. I'd warn him not to learn from M. Night. I'm like, don't, learn from M. Night, his successes and his failures. So we'll see if Cregger can avoid that pitfall. Visually, Cregger as a director is only okay. He's pretty standard. I mean, he has the shots look nice. I mean, it's a nicely produced film, but he does have great moments. Like, it's not like Kubrick where you're like, every frame is beautiful. But he has moments where you're just like, that is amazing. Like the visual of the children running in the dark with their arms stretched out like wings, very effective. Sells the whole movie. Sold it in the ad campaign, sells it when you're watching it. By the way, the suburbs are absolutely terrifying. As someone who grew up in the city, I don't know how any of you do it. I mean, my grandma lived in the suburbs and I used to stay with her a little bit and it would freak me out all the time. I mean, it's like you're just right there and it's like dark and empty and quiet. I mean, this movie I think really capitalizes on that quite well. I wonder if Cregger is also from the city. It's interesting. Very scary. I thought it was very scary. Critics love Cregger's work. He's doing real well with critics, right? Audiences, though, a little less. And I am curious to see what the audience score is for this movie. Like my IMAX cinephile, AMC A-list packed crowd was like, oh boy. But I can see some people being like, why'd you do that to me? I mean, I even told you I had a little bit of that reaction myself watching it. So I'm really curious to see what the audience score is going to be for this movie. On Rotten Tomatoes, cinema scores always mean to horror films, so it's hard to judge from that. Fascinatingly, you know what else this reminds me of? Mr. Osgood Perkins, who had a horrible trailer for a new movie in front of this. And I defended his monkey movie, the monkey. But this next one doesn't look good, Osgood. Osgood Perkins, of course, the son of Anthony Perkins of Psycho fame. But I see a lot of similarities to Longlegs, a lot, which was not also a huge crowd pleaser. A lot like that had a lot of hype, and a lot of people went to see it, I think that's a good barometer for whether or not you should see this movie. Did you like Longlegs? I didn't even see Longlegs. So maybe that's one of the reasons that this is my Longlegs. Like, I don't know if I'd want to do this again, but I enjoyed it. I think horror fans will really like it, and cinephiles, right? Like if you're like, oh, look what he's doing for the genre. Oh, I love it. But again, casual viewers, beware. Yourself and anyone you know. If you know a casual viewer and they're like, maybe we should go see Weapons, everyone's talking about it. Like don't ask someone to go see it who's only a cat. Like if it's not on their radar, leave them alone. But if they ask, then you should say, okay, I don't want to discourage going to the movies, but let me warn you, it's slow and depressing and sad and grotesque. So if you still want to go, let's go. Let's go have a good time. The audience experience should be fun. That's how you should look at it. Look at it for the experience. We'll find out how the movie performs on Sunday at the box office. So be sure to subscribe so you don't miss Sunday's movie math. All right, so before we get to those little spoilery comments I want to discuss, I also want to talk about the cast in a non-spoilery way. At this point, I think we can all agree that Julie Garner is a real standout actress. She's got her Emmys for Ozark. I think she really stood out in Fantastic Four. And she's really good here. I mean, I think she's a little underserved by the script, but she really does a lot with the part. And what I love most about Julia Garner is she's not your average or typical Hollywood actress. Like her look in this film is so great. Like her bottle glasses, she has these really crazy bottle glasses. I just love that she's wearing them as the leading lady of the movie. Like she's not like the leading lady. She's just a regular person, which I think I just found so fun. Josh Brolin is also excellent. He has a very funny moment that not only made my whole theater laugh, but that we could all really relate to in the moment because we all felt the same way. And I think that's why we all laughed. I think the movie really lucked out that Pedro Pascal ended up having a scheduling conflict because of this movie being delayed because of the strikes. Because the role for him would have been just so similar to his role in The Last of Us and The Mandalorian, another distressed father, even dressed the same. And I think that it would have been really distracting. Brolin isn't a distraction, but he's not a standout either. He's fine. As I said, Ehrenreich, who actually has a surprisingly large role, is excellent. He brings a lot of energy and personality and comedy. He's very funny to the movie, as does Abrams' drug addict. I really liked them a lot. And while I think it's safe to say that no one will ever forget Benedict Wong in this movie. My God. And Scarlett Cher, I want to give her a shout out as she does an excellent job, particularly as a child actor, narrating the film. That's some spooky stuff, Scarlett. Good job. All right, so we're going to talk about a couple spoilery elements from the film that I just have to talk to you about. Like, I got to talk to you about it. So if you haven't seen the film, this is where I recommend you stop watching. But I'm not going to totally ruin it for you because I really think that you should go and see it. Again, I think it's a really fun communal experience. And, form your own opinion on it. But there's just some stuff that we got to talk about. That's why it's trending number 5. We got to talk about this stuff. Please be careful in the comment section down below. And if you want to share a spoilery comment about something that you feel you just need to talk about, well, then definitely mark it as such. So I really liked a lot of this film, but the mystery frustrated me a little bit. And that's one of the things I want to talk to you about. All right. So the mystery, when they first present it for the first half of the film, you're like, I don't know if this can be solved. This is a real stumper. I don't know what's going on either. But as we learned more and more about what actually happened through the different chapters, and they were telling the story from different angles and perspectives, it turned out that the law enforcement in the town was as stupid as Josh Brolin feared they were. And I gotta say, I even lost a little respect for Julia Garner's Miss Gandy as well, who I thought was hiding. She wasn't hiding anything. In fact, I couldn't believe that she didn't bring it up. Because she knew, it turns out, that Alex had been acting odd. Great child actor, though, by the way. But she knew that he had been acting odd. She even says, Alex, you've been acting odd for weeks. And yet, not only does she not mention this to the police, be like, I think you should question him some more. He's been acting weird. And she didn't even seem to remember it herself. When they're like, why do you want to talk to Alex so much? Maybe she was lying. But why wouldn't she just say? Why would she protect Alex? Why wouldn't she be like, I think Alex might be in danger? Like, it was just, it was just frustrating that the audience didn't get that vital piece of information until the end. Like sometimes in a mystery, yes, new clues do reveal themselves, but it's supposed to be constructed in a better way. Like it's not a good mystery if the audience can't solve it because you didn't give them the a good mystery is where you have all the pieces, but yet you still didn't put it together, right? Because the movie does such a good job of tricking you or with a bluff. That's how it works best. I get frustrated with any kind of mystery where they're like, ta-da, it was this person. And you're like, who's that? I didn't even know that was an option. So I just find that annoying. We should have known from the very beginning that there was a problem with Alex. Also, I have to say that the only child in the class not to disappear, and then we find out that his crazy Aunt Gladys, was at the police station for questioning and said, oh, his father recently suffered a stroke and so he can't speak. That didn't set off any alarms in the heads of the police detectives. I would think it was just a whole battalion of red flags with this family. I just didn't buy that nobody took a closer look at this. And who did take a closer look? Julia Garner's character. She went to look at that house and she saw Alex's parents sitting like that in the dark, like that, just all weird. And so why would she just call the principal and tell him about it? Why wouldn't she immediately be like, get in your squad car, police. We got to go over here and investigate this. Did this frustrate anybody else? So the culprit, and that's all I'll say, because again, I don't want to give everything away, but the culprit is played by Amy Madigan. Remember her? I actually did not, but I remembered the name. So I Googled her, and the most interesting thing I found out was that she's Ed Harris's wife. That's crazy. What a pair of character actors that is, because he's done some crazy roles too. She has definitely caught up to him. She used to act quite a bit. But she hasn't been in anything for a while. In fact, she almost has seemed like semi-retired. And they've just, searching for Deborah Winger is about how it's harder for actresses as they get older. So what a gift. I hope she does the rounds and does interviews after this weekend to get to be able to collect her flowers for this performance, because she does a very good job. It is rare to see a villain in a movie who is so powerful and seemingly unstoppable, which makes her just so hateful. Usually a villain has an Achilles heel, you feel like the hero can thwart them. But for I would say almost the entirety of her screen time, I was like, I don't know what we can do about this. I think that's one of the things that was driving the audience so crazy. My hate for her just grew exponentially the longer and longer she was on screen. I wanted her, and I was like, oh, I can't wait for her end to come about. And I have to say, even though it was pretty gruesome, I thought it should have been worse. Really. She was just such a horrible and despicable, disgusting person. It was so sad, the things that she did. Truly horrible. They didn't try to explain her away because she was just evil. But when it comes to the ending of what happened to her, again, I don't want to give it away, but I will just say that all it did was actually just make me feel it was another horrible thing to happen to those children. And I felt it made it even sadder what happened to them. Did you catch, by the way, that Josh Brolin's son was Alex's bully? Talk about, again, turning things around and putting someone who is not sympathetic and then twisting and saying, well, could you feel any sympathy for them when you learn this? That was interesting. Now, I understand that Alex is a small child and that he feared for his parents' life. This culprit really had him in a pickle. But I was surprised that he didn't try and do something to get out of the situation. Like in other movies and shows, he would have gone to the library or to an old bookstore in town with an eccentric owner, or find the town or a town nearby's fortune teller. But I guess Alex didn't watch a lot of TV and movies. There's a good reason to watch TV and movies, so you know what to do in situations like this, right? But at least he paid attention to what was happening right in front of him. And so in the end, he kind of made up for what he did to his classmates. Kind of. It was pretty bad, Alex. It was pretty bad. How did Julia Garner's Miss Gandy not realize that he had taken all the name tags down in the classroom off of everybody's little cubby? That was very odd to me. I could buy that maybe she didn't want to call him out on it because he was clearly in a vulnerable situation and something was going on with him. But that's like a pretty big deal. And it's her classroom. She's there every day. I'm sure she puts things in those cubbies. How does she not realize that every single name tag is missing? And if not in that moment, how come she didn't realize it later? And then why wouldn't she mention it to the police and be like, again, I think you should ask Alex some more questions because I'm pretty sure he stole everybody's name tag. And it was super weird. Like, they said that Miss Gandy wasn't the best teacher and didn't have a great past. And I'm starting to think maybe she wasn't a great teacher. But Marcus was a good principal and a good man and a good husband. Although, how did he not realize that there was something seriously wrong with Aunt Gladys? His assistant sure did. I was like, Principal Marcus, stop pushing this woman. Say, okay, and call the police. But he didn't. It was so sad. What happened to him and his husband, I thought was extraordinarily sad and cruel. That was difficult to watch. The cutting of the hair, though, it happened with the husband. And then also in that scene at night with Julia Garner passed out in the car. I'm not going to say too much, but wow, really one of the most iconic moments in the film and one of the things that makes it an instant horror classic, even if some other areas are a little weaker. Some of my other favorite moments, and I encourage you to share your own down below. I loved Ehrenreich and Abrams, together and apart. Their scenes were just fantastic. Again, Ehrenreich's officer didn't have a leg to stand on. Everything he did was wrong, personally and professionally, this whole movie. Like, wow, you were like, dude, take 5. You need to reset. Like, you are just it's so bad. But the movie, I think, in that regard, kind of made him sympathetic. Like, he knew things were spiraling out of control. And I really felt bad about what happened to him, too. I felt really bad for him. Abrams also does a fantastic job. Both these actors, very comedic. I think my favorite moment with Abrams was when he was trying cars and he discovered that one was unlocked. And the moment of euphoria, because he was just so desperate for money and his next high, that he dove into the car like a cartoon character. That was fantastic. I also thought Toby Huss really popped as the police captain. I thought he did a nice job. And then Justin Long's cameo. My whole audience chuckled because not only is it Justin Long, but he was in Cregger's Barbarian in a crazy role. Crazy. So here, though, he had a cameo. But what was crazy about this cameo was that Brolin had gone to this woman and asked her for help, but she was like, too much. It's a step too far. I don't want to do it. So I had thought, and I think everybody was supposed to think, that Brolin had just gone to another house to ask somebody else for help. But instead, he just waited for this woman's husband to come home and went around her. The look on her face. I mean, it was nuts. I couldn't believe the movie did that. It was crazy. Then there's the automatic rifle that Brolin sees in his dream, his vision. Really heavy-handed. But it's in there, so let's try and figure out what Cregger is trying to say with it. Here's my take on it, and I'll be curious to hear what your interpretation of it is. I think the movie didn't need it, to be honest with you. But I guess he's trying to give the movie meaning, not just a standard horror movie. So here's what I think it means. Gun violence, of course, takes many lives every year in the United States, particularly, and in schools in particular. Just as many kids as you see here in this movie. But because we can explain it, or more accurately, explain it away, it doesn't haunt people the way this mysterious disappearance does. So I think maybe that's what Cregger is trying to say, that it should haunt you as much. I don't think he gets that point across at all, but I'm curious, what do you think was the point of including that? And do you think it was effective? So yeah, I had a tough time with this movie, but it's certainly an experience I'll never forget. I mean, look at the reaction it elicited out of me. I mean, that says a lot right there, right? The movie is very well made. And I think it gets a visceral reaction from its audience. And I think it deserves credit for that. Could it be a little scarier? Sure could. Could it have a better constructed mystery that holds up together and a little more expert? It's got a lot of holes. The mystery has a lot of holes, for sure. Definitely could have been better done in that regard. But it has a great hook. It has some amazing visuals. The setup knocked it out of the park in that regard. And it's certainly unique with a villain that just really makes an impression. Like, I'll never forget Amy Madigan's performance. So we'll see how it does, both at the box office and that audience score. I'm very curious about the audience score. Okay, share your thoughts down below, subscribe today, and of course, as always, you can check out some more videos right now.